Hello and good morning and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where I'm going to be continuing what I started yesterday, having a look over the models I got from Empress and unboxed. Quite late yesterday, later than I intended, mostly because I have a hearing issue which is caused by earwax. The treatment for that is to soak it slowly in olive oil, for which you generally require to be lying on your side with the affected ear upwards. You're spamming me. Nothing important. And I frankly went to sleep, and I know this is a risk, and I'd set an alarm to wake me up, only I slept through that as well. So I woke up ridiculously late last night, which is why the original one was posted in the small hours of the morning. I will now be spending some time getting my sleep-wake cycle fixed. All I'm doing with these is I'm going over them looking for mould lines and the like, and scratching out the obvious ones. Most of them seem to be at the moment hidden under the hidden the folds and the detail, and they probably won't show up until I put a primer coat on them. But these are really nicely clean casts as far as I can tell at the moment, and apart from the filing at the bottom, which is always necessary, on the bases, which is always necessary, cleanup seems to be extremely minimal. These little bits under the heel are basically flow channels to allow the heel will fill up. Probably a test cast proved that if you didn't put them there, you'd end up with miscast heels quite a lot on these figures with their feet just off the floor. So all I'm doing with these, as I say, is just getting rid of obvious mould lines and any bits of things like final straightening of rifles and things like that. The other reason I'm doing this I'm also doing the classic blending in the metal base into the plastic one, so it looks like the guy's running on the level. Again, it's Milliport. It's the cheaper stuff which I buy in large quantities and is really useful for all sorts of things as we go. So just bend. Does help if you can actually see straight, which unfortunately I can't, having a dominant eye, and if I'm at all tired, not being able to, well, defaulting to looking out of one eye, which rather does no good for your depth perception and stuff like that. Once again, I'm using extraordinarily high-tech tools for any putty sculpting that I'm doing. You really don't need sculpting tools for most of the sculpting that anybody who's not a sculptor will ever need to do. I'm trying to make a nice job of these, as they will be going up as a palette, you know, as a teaser on the eBay shop when they're done, as I will be, as I've always intended, to add World War II and historical stuff to the fantasy I've already got up there. And I'm going to have to mix some more putty. Because there are two amounts of putty you make. It's like pasta. You either make too much or too little. And I'm probably just about to make too much this time. This has gone a bit hard, but if you get it, if it has gone a bit hard, it's not set. What has happened is it's sort of dried in the air, or due to age. This is probably the air because I left it open. And if you work it so it's soft with your fingers, and it's good exercise for the wrists and anybody that's got arthritis or had a stroke or something like that that needs to get their other hand back in operation, it will soften up. And if you remember to do that, it won't harden again. It's usually the hardener rather than, it's usually only the one part that gets like that, but it's, and again you use about equal amounts. I've now softened this up to the point where it'll work, and hopefully I'll have more than enough to do. And you mix this till it's an even colour and it's nice and warm. It's not an even colour yet, and because the reaction that hardens it creates heat, you'll feel it get a little warm in your hand if it's properly mixed. Will still go off if it's not properly mixed, it just won't go off evenly and will go off slower. And that's all ready for the next bases. So you've got about an hour with this before it gets a little bit hard to work, and probably about 2 or 3 hours before it's rock hard. You can speed it up, as like most chemical reactions, it's all temperature dependent. If you stick it on a gentle heat, if you stick it on a not gentle heat, it can discolour a little bit, but it's generally not a major issue. And I thought I'd got all the under the heels, but I hadn't. Just take a sip and check how much time we've got left, because whatever you do with this camera, you can only film for 27 minutes before starting a new film. And as I have only just downloaded the editing software, which was recommended to me by the lovely Stu, and not used it, I would really rather keep this one under that length, so I can have a play with something, give me something to play with. Just clean it off the edge so it doesn't look rough, because all you're trying to do, remember, is to make the base, the two bases, look like they're a continuous piece of ground. Not sure what I'm going to be doing with these, but the ambitious project for them would be a platoon sized unit for a Cold War Gone Hot chain of command style game. The less ambitious idea would be to use them in sci-fi games. These are, by the way, pretty much a unit from Doctor Who, if you want them to be, and use them for little skirmishy games. I'm sort of writing one for section level actions, but not being able to think straight for 3 months doesn't actually help that much. I suspect, have clipped the bases a bit smaller before I did this. In fact, I'll probably do that in future. It's not a major thing, it's just you want to avoid them sticking off the edge. Yeah, it's possibly I've got this right. And I'll need these to go off, which in this cold workshop will probably take a little while. Fortunately, it's not near freezing. And then I will be finding my old school metal primer and priming them with enamel primer, because I have run out of acrylic primer and the stuff I like is out of stock at the supplier. I tend to use the Reaper White because it is actually a good metal primer and seems to stick to this sort of brass hard pewter rather better than the Army Painter paint primer, which, as far as I'm concerned, is mostly for plastics and is a very nice shade of grey, as can be seen on my World War II Russians. I think I'm going to have to deal with that, but do the edge of the base again on that one. But that can wait. And shockingly, I seem to have almost the right amount. And I can get rid of the rest of it just by putting my little bobs. And there we are. All done for now.